They told me to get out. Screamed it, actually. Called me a failure, a leech. Said they wished I'd never come back. So I left. Just like they demanded. But I didn't leave quietly, and I certainly didn't leave empty-handed. I took the truth with me. My name is Elara, and I'm 28 years old. I moved back into my childhood home a little over a year ago after a relationship fell apart, and I needed a place to regroup and build my freelance graphic design business. It wasn't supposed to be long-term, just a few months to save up. But things change. Life and families have a way of trapping you when you least expect it. Living with my parents, Eleanor and Arthur, and my older sister, Chloe, was challenging. My parents are retired, living on a fixed income that was apparently tighter than they'd planned. Chloe works a steady, respectable office job and likes to remind everyone of it constantly, though her actual contribution to the household seemed to be limited to complaining about the cost of things. My work, being freelance, was deemed unstable and a hobby by my mother, despite the fact that I was consistently bringing in a decent income and, more importantly, covering a significant portion of the household expenses. It started subtly. A request to spot them for groceries, then to cover the internet bill. Just this once. Then it escalated. When the water heater died, I paid for the replacement and installation without being asked. When the property taxes were due and they were short, I transferred the money. I took on extra projects, worked late nights hunched over my laptop in my bedroom, the only space that felt remotely mine, surrounded by unpacked boxes and the quiet presence of my cat Jasper. Jasper, a small, scruffy tabby, was the only one in the house who greeted me with unconditional affection instead of judgment. I paid the rent or the mortgage payment. Since the house was technically paid off, the money just went to upkeep and taxes, all the utilities, phone bills, house insurance. When my dad had an unexpected medical issue, I paid his deductible because their savings were untouchable. When the old, drafty windows desperately needed replacing before winter, I financed the whole project. I wasn't just chipping in. I was the silent financial foundation the house rested on. They never asked me to do it, not directly, but the expectation hung in the air, thick and heavy, like the tension before a thunderstorm. And because I loved them, or because I desperately wanted their approval, I did it. I kept paying, hoping my contributions would finally make them see my worth, make them proud. That hope was a cruel, slow poison. The breaking point came, as these things often do, at dinner. Thursday night. My mother insisted on a family meal, a rare, forced ritual that usually ended in awkward silence or thinly veiled criticism directed at me. The food was takeout. My mother rarely cooked anymore and sat lukewarm on the table, a perfect metaphor for the warmth of our family dynamics. Arthur was buried behind his newspaper, a wall of silence he hid behind during any potential conflict. Chloe picked at her food, eyes scanning her phone. Eleanor started, clearing her throat dramatically. "Elara," she began, her voice deceptively sweet. "We were talking, Chloe and I." Chloe looked up, a smirk playing on her lips. "About your situation." My stomach clenched. "Here we go." "Your work online," Eleanor continued, waving a dismissive hand. "It's just not sustainable, is it? All those irregular hours, sitting alone in your room." Chloe has a proper career with benefits, a retirement plan. Chloe nodded, chiming in, "It's true, Mom." It feels like Elara's just playing around on the computer. I tried to speak up. "It's not playing around. I just finished a major project for a new client, and I'm signing another next week." "Clients, projects," Eleanor cut me off, her voice hardening. "It's not the same. We worry about you. About your future. And honestly, it's a strain." She sighed, a deep, performative sound. "Keeping this house running, it's expensive. With your father's issues, and our fixed income." "I pay the bills, Mom," I said quietly, stating the obvious, the truth that was never acknowledged. "I cover the mortgage, the utilities, the insurance, most of the groceries these days. I paid for the windows, remember? And Dad's deductible." Eleanor's face twisted. The sweet facade vanished, replaced by a cold fury I knew all too well. "Pay the bills," she shrieked, her voice rising, startling Arthur behind his paper. "You throw us a few scraps and think that makes you a hero? We gave you a roof over your head when you had nowhere else to go. You're a leech, Elara." A parasite living off our good graces, pretending you're some big-shot businesswoman while you drain us dry. Chloe added, her voice dripping with disdain. Honestly, it's embarrassing. We thought you'd have figured things out by now. Moved out. Gotten a real job. Everyone asks about you. And what are we supposed to say? Oh, she's still upstairs in her pajamas. My vision blurred slightly at the edges. The unfairness, the cruelty, the sheer audacity of their words after everything I'd done. I drain you dry? I repeated, the words tasting like ash. I've kept this house running for the last year. Your fixed income wouldn't cover half of it without me. Eleanor leaned forward, her eyes narrowed to slits. Don't you dare talk to me like that, she hissed. Her voice dropped back to a low, venomous tone, worse than the shouting. We regret letting you come back. You are nothing but a disappointment, a failure. We hate everything you stand for. Your attitude, your life choices, everything. She gestured towards the door with a flick of her wrist. Just get out. Get your stuff and go. We wish you'd never come back. Arthur didn't say a word. He folded his newspaper deliberately, placed it beside his plate, and stared straight ahead, pretending he hadn't heard a thing. Chloe went back to picking at her food. I stood up slowly, the scrape of my chair on the floor the loudest sound in the room. There was no yelling from me, no thrown dishes, no dramatic scene. That's what they expected. That would make me histrionic, give them more fuel. But the cold shock had solidified into something hard and brittle inside me. This wasn't the first time they'd dismissed me, belittled me, or ignored my efforts. But saying they hated everything about me, wishing I'd never come back, that broke something fundamental. I looked at their faces. Eleanor's furious mask, Chloe's smug satisfaction, Arthur's blank, avoidant stare. They wanted me gone. Fine. I would go. But not like a ghost. I walked out of the dining room, my steps even, deliberate, heading upstairs. Every creak of the old stairs seemed to mock the idea of this ever being a stable home. I reached my room, closed the door softly, and leaned against it for a moment, taking a deep, shaky breath. Jasper, startled by the tension in the air, jumped onto the bed and watched me with wide, questioning eyes. Sitting on the edge of the bed, the fury simmered, but it was laced with a chilling clarity. They wanted me gone. They saw me as a burden. They denied my contributions. They rewrote history to suit their narrative. Fine. Let them. But I would take the truth with me. I pulled out my laptop. This wasn't just about leaving anymore. It was about documentation. About proof. I opened a new spreadsheet, labeling it the Ledger of Neglect. And I started filling it in. Rent/mortgage payments. Date, amount. Note, e.g., covered October mortgage payment. Utility bills. Date, type, electricity, gas, water, internet. Amount. House repairs. Date, description, roof repair, window replacement, water heater, contractor name, amount. Groceries. Date, approximate amount. I had photos of receipts on my phone, bank transactions. Insurance premiums, property taxes, dad's deductible. The times I'd covered their smaller debts or unexpected expenses. Every single payment, every single contribution I could find evidence for over the last year and a half I'd been back. As I worked, going through bank statements and email archives, the numbers added up, staggering even me. I hadn't realized the sheer volume of what I'd covered. It wasn't just helping out, it was fundamentally supporting them. And they called me a leech. Scrolling through old files, I came across a scanned document. My high school writing award certificate, regional first place. I remembered winning it at 15, standing on a stage, feeling a flicker of hope that this might finally make them proud. I brought it home, laid it on the kitchen counter. My mother glanced at it. "Oh, that's nice," she'd said, immediately followed by, "Chloe got an A on her calculus final, you know. Much harder subject." The certificate ended up in a drawer, unframed, another piece of evidence that my achievements were always less important, less valid than Chloe's. Then there was the letter from the state university offering me a partial scholarship for their creative writing program. My dream. I showed it to them, heart pounding with excitement. Eleanor read it, then frowned. Creative writing? What kind of job do you get with that? And who would help us out here? Your father needs someone around. Chloe, of course, had just started her proper business degree. The message was clear. My dreams were inconvenient, my potential a threat to the status quo. I never applied. The letter joined the certificate in the drawer. Collecting these old ghosts of achievements, these documents of dismissed potential, felt like gathering fragments of a self they had tried to shatter. They went into a separate folder, erasure. I also listed the unpaid labor, the caregiving. When my mother had a bad fall last year and was laid up for several weeks, I was the one who took care of her. I canceled freelance calls, lost potential income, just to be there. I cooked, cleaned, managed her medication, drove her to appointments. Chloe visited occasionally, usually for a quick chat and to tell everyone how stressed she was with work. When my mother recovered, she praised Chloe endlessly for being so supportive during a difficult time. My efforts were invisible, taken for granted, or attributed to someone else. I added caregiving mom's fall to my list of uncompensated contributions. One evening, I was on a video call with my friend Sarah. I didn't tell her about the get out part yet. The humiliation was too fresh. But I talked about the constant criticism of my job, the feeling of being unappreciated despite helping with money. Sarah, practical and kind, listened patiently. That sounds awful, Elara, she said gently. No one deserves to be treated like that, especially not when you're stepping up like you are. You need to put yourself first. Her validation was a lifeline. She didn't tell me what to do, but she reminded me that what I was experiencing wasn't normal or okay. Life in the house became a suffocating performance. They acted as if the dinner conversation hadn't happened, or perhaps that I was the one being difficult by not immediately packing and disappearing. The passive aggression intensified. Chloe would make loud phone calls in the living room about her upcoming work trip or promotion, pausing just long enough to shoot me a condescending look if I walked by. Eleanor would leave notes about chores, Elara, the trash is full, despite me having taken it out yesterday, or sigh loudly about how much everything costs while watching TV. Arthur remained a silent fixture, a ghost in his own home, his inactions somehow validating their behavior. Chloe's undermining became more active. I left my laptop open for a moment, stepping out to grab a glass of water. When I came back, a crucial design file I'd been working on was gone from my desktop. Chloe was innocently scrolling on her phone nearby. "Oh, did you lose something?" she asked, too sweetly. I spent hours recreating it. Another time, she accidentally unplugged my router during a video call with a client, causing the call to drop. "Oops, sorry," she called out, not sounding sorry at all. My calm resolve hardened into something cold and sharp. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted me discredited, made small. They wanted to erase my contributions, my work, my very presence from the narrative of the house. The ledger wasn't just proof for them. It was proof for me, a way to hold on to the truth in the face of their gaslighting. The final straw came with the annual family gathering, a sprawling barbecue at Aunt Carol's house. Our extended family would be there, cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends who'd known me since I was a child. My mother insisted we all attend, projecting an image of a happy, united family. I dreaded it, knowing the performance required, and sensing that this public stage would be used against me. I arrived with my parents and Chloe, pasting on a smile. Aunt Carol greeted me warmly. She'd always been kinder, though she rarely intervened in family drama. The small talk was superficial until, inevitably, my mother steered a conversation towards me, when talking to Aunt Carol and a couple of cousins I hadn't seen in a while. "Oh, Elara," Eleanor said, sighing dramatically, drawing attention. Still doing her computer thing. "We worry about her, you know. It's not like Chloe with her stable career and benefits. We just try to support Elara, but it's a struggle." Chloe jumped in, a bright, fake smile on her face. "It's tough when someone isn't motivated to get a real job. We're hoping she finds her path soon, so she can be more independent. Right now, it's quite the drain on Mom and Dad." The cousins exchanged uncomfortable glances. Aunt Carol's smile tightened. My blood ran cold, then boiled. Drain on Mom and Dad? After I paid for their roof, their windows, their bills? This wasn't just casual criticism. This was a deliberate attempt to humiliate me, to paint me as a lazy freeloader to the entire family. I felt a surge of white-hot fury, quickly followed by that familiar, cold resolve. I looked directly at Chloe, then at Eleanor. I didn't say anything immediately, but I met their eyes with a look that I hoped conveyed exactly how done I was. Eleanor faltered for a second, the smugness on her face replaced by a flicker of surprise, maybe even unease. I turned away from the conversation, walked over to the drinks table, and took a slow, steadying breath. That was it. The public performance, the deliberate lies, the attempt to rewrite my reality for the benefit of an audience. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted my reputation destroyed. Leaving Aunt Carol's house that evening, the air in the car was thick with unspoken tension. Eleanor and Chloe were unusually quiet, perhaps sensing the shift in me. Arthur remained in his silent bubble. Back in my room, fueled by a righteous anger that felt cleaner than the long-held pain, I worked nonstop. The ledger was finished. Every payment, every bill, every significant expense I had covered for the house for them. I added notes about the caregiving, the ignored achievements, the times my work was belittled. I included screenshots of bank transfers, scanned receipts for the windows and roof, copies of utility bills in my name that I'd paid. I created multiple copies of the full ledger, a printed binder, a file saved to a flash drive labeled Family Finances Elara, another copy uploaded to a secure cloud service. This wasn't just a record. It was my shield, my sword. I packed my remaining belongings methodically. Books, clothes, photos, Jasper's things, my laptop, my work files. Each item packed felt like reclaiming a small piece of space, of self, that had been denied here. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The house was silent, the kind of heavy silence that precedes a storm. I made coffee, sat in the living room, and waited. I had placed the printed ledger binder prominently on the coffee table. Around 8 o'clock, Eleanor came downstairs, followed by Arthur. Chloe emerged a little later. They saw me sitting there, the binder on the table. Eleanor looked annoyed. "What's this, Elara? Are you still here?" "Yes, Mom," I said, my voice calm. "I'm still here, but not for much longer." I gestured to the binder. "We need to talk. About what happened the other night. And about everything else." Eleanor scoffed. "There's nothing to talk about. We told you what we think. It's time for you to move on." "Fine," I said, standing up. "I am moving on. But before I do, you need to see this." I opened the binder. "You called me a leech. A burden. Said I drained you dry. That you wish I'd never come back." I looked at each of them. "Here's the truth." I started going through the ledger. Over the last year and a half, I have paid an average of calculated average monthly cost based on sample data per month towards this household. Total rent/mortgage covered. Sum total. Total utilities. Sum total. Major repairs I paid for. Sum total. That's the roof repair amount, the windows amount, the water heater amount, property taxes amount, house insurance amount, Dad's medical deductible amount, groceries estimated total, family debt I helped clear amount. I spoke clearly, calmly, listing the figures, the dates, the descriptions. Their faces went from annoyance to shock, then denial, then fury. "That's not right." Eleanor sputtered, her face pale. "You didn't pay all that. You're exaggerating." "It's all here, Mom," I said, tapping the binder. "Bank statements, receipts, invoices. Documented. I can show you every single transaction." I looked at Arthur, who was staring at the table, his face ashen. "Dad, I paid for the roof. You dealt with the contractor I hired." He didn't meet my eyes, but he didn't deny it. His silence was the loudest confirmation. Chloe finally found her voice, her face twisted in anger. "This is insane. Why would you keep track of all this? Are you trying to make us feel guilty?" "Guilty?" I asked, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "No. I'm showing you the reality you chose to ignore. You called me a burden while I was literally holding this house together financially. You dismissed my work, my achievements, my efforts, while I was sacrificing my own future, my own savings, to keep you comfortable." I looked at Chloe. "You got credit for caregiving I did. My accomplishments were laughed at. You actively tried to undermine me. Eleanor's fury erupted. Get this garbage out of my house. You are twisted, Elara. You've always been difficult. This is just your way of trying to hurt us because you're unhappy. You're a failure, and you blame everyone else. No, I said, my voice firm final. I'm not blaming you. I'm stating the facts. You wanted me gone. You said you hated me. You made it clear there's no place for me here, not the real me, not the one who actually contributes. I picked up the binder and the flash drive. So I'm going. I walked towards the door where my packed bags were waiting. Jasper was in his carrier by the door, letting out a soft meow. I picked him up. I paid for this house, for your lives, for years, while you treated me like a tenant you wished would leave, I said, turning back to face them one last time. Now I am leaving. I looked at the ledger in my hand. And I'm taking the truth with me. You wanted me to disappear like a ghost. But ghosts don't leave behind ledgers showing exactly how much they were worth. I opened the door. The morning air was cool and fresh on my face. Freedom mingled with grief, a potent, dizzying cocktail. I stepped outside, carrying my bags, Jasper, and the ledger of neglect. I didn't look back. They told me to leave. They said they hated everything about me. They called me a burden. Now, the house I paid for, the lives I supported, would have to stand on their own. And I had a feeling they would find out very quickly just how much my burden had actually been lifting. The truth, documented and undeniable, was finally out. And I was finally free.